Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us again. I'm coming to you from a different location today, but we're still interviewing folks that we think you'll want to meet, and I have a great guest for us today. But before I introduce our guest, I want to thank some people that we always thank. We want to thank brassandwinds.com, Quinn the Eskimo company. Brass and Winds is the place where we go when we're looking for brass and woodwind instruments, and we think you'll think they're fantastic too. Do you want to learn to play the piano online for free? Check us out at TruerMU, truermu.com. We think we're a better way to learn the piano. If you don't want to learn online and you'd like to study with a person, check us out at willowschoolgeorgia.com, willowschoolga.com. Now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our guest today. This is a gentleman who works in the same city with me and does similar work. His name is Mr. Rob Sayer, and he is the CEO and founder of The Music Class. Rob, welcome to our show.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. I was interested in talking to you for several reasons. One is because we share a music education background, and the other is that we're both music entrepreneurs. And I was very curious. You have a wonderful company in The Music Class, and I wanted to hear about your story about how you created it, how you got here, essentially, and what you've learned along the way.
Big question. So, how did I get here? So, I started out as a trumpet player, and
You studied at Juilliard, among other places, right?
well, yeah. So I grew up in New Jersey, and I went to Juilliard pre-college. I was very lucky to have that experience when I was young, and I think critical is, my mentor, my teacher through high school, and then later on I went to Manhattan School of Music both for my undergrad and master's. But my trumpet teacher all through that time was Ed Troidel, and I think he was pretty unusual, particularly in the '70s, in that other teachers would all just teach repertoire, and Troidel taught how we as human beings play the trumpet, and how to really master our both physical selves and our mental selves too, and so that we're ready to learn and do whatever we want on the instrument. And thinking back on that, I think that created in me a lot of my passion as an educator for working with beginners. Um, I also studied with, I took one of these week-long summer master classes with Arnold Jacobs from the Chicago Symphony. And one of his many messages was about how we're just creatures of habit. Everything is going so fast, and it's habit, 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 and establishing good habits from the very beginning. Although one of his other things, which is really cool, is about how it's really hard to correct a bad habit and to replace it with another habit. One of his main points. But all of that really got me into, as an educator, much more interested in working with beginning instrumentalists than with like high school level, where you're going for more outstanding performance. So that got me started. I got my education at Manhattan School of Music, performance undergrad, master's in ed. I got an orchestra gig right out of college, but I always enjoyed working with kids and teaching, and so I knew pretty soon that my temperament was not really suited for being an orchestral player, and I left that job, and I came back and I took a high school teaching job, and then I took a middle school teaching job when my daughter was born, because high school teachers work a lot of hours. I couldn't do that with a kid.
Right.
Yeah. So the more of the long story is, I took a class with Edwin Gordon. And Edwin Gordon is one of the biggies in the field of early childhood music education. And really turned me around. And here I was with a master's in music education, but feeling like I had no knowledge about how we as human beings learn to be musicians. How do we learn music? And one of his many principles is that early childhood is the key time, and it made me realize that when I'm in school teaching a band and a kid raises their hand saying, "Hey, Mr. Sayer, am I playing the right notes?" that it's too late. Not really, but mostly too late. The real learning, I mean, the setup had to be years before. And so to make the most impact as a teacher, I decided, you know what? I wanted to get an early childhood. Plus, I was in a school teaching situation I wasn't really happy about. And so, let's switch over. So that's when I switched to early childhood. And it's so much fun and so meaningful as a teacher. I do workshops, and I tell these teachers, you've got more impact with this 2-year-old than if they go to pursue music and they go to Juilliard than that Juilliard teacher, because you're setting this foundation that all they've got to work with for later on. And it's really true, all that important stuff that we learn in those first years. So that's kind of my story.
Okay, well, I want to break it down just a little bit
Uh-huh.
and go back to the person that you were before you discovered all this. When you were little,
Uh-huh.
when you yourself were small, what did you see yourself doing as a child?
Oh, I don't even know. I can tell you that I'm the youngest of 4 kids,
Uh-huh.
and two of them. Well, one of them is a full-time performing musician, very successful. Another one of my sister Cynthia, another sister Sue, was playing instruments all through school. My older brother Wayne, he played in school. He wasn't as involved as the girls, but there was music going on, and being the youngest, I was exposed to all of that. And my parents had a philosophy that everybody had to take piano lessons for a year. I don't remember how old, maybe like 3rd grade or something. And I had to take those lessons. And frankly, I wasn't really into it. And I remember being dragged to something with my big sisters and seeing somebody play trumpet. And for whatever reason, I was like, ooh, I want to do that. And I had to wait till like 4th grade, and then I got to play the trumpet, and that was my, whatever, who knows what attracts us to our instruments, but I was attracted to that.
Yeah.
What did I want to do? I don't know as a kid what I wanted to do. But by the time I was in high school, I was already teaching privately to friends and stuff. And I enjoyed teaching for many, many years. I like working with kids.
So you were hardwired as a teacher, essentially.
I think so.
Yeah. But you pursued a degree in performance. If you felt so hardwired as a teacher, what took you down? You made it all the way to, I think, an orchestral position in Natal. Isn't that
Right.
correct?
Yes.
So, I mean, if you knew you were a teacher, what kept you going down the performance direction so far?
I think that I was, like a lot of people, I was having a certain amount of success. Hey, I did this, I got that, And so I continued along that path. There were some things I was good at playing the trumpet, and there were some things I wasn't good at, frankly, that, I thought were going to be problems if I try to, continue to that high level. And so I was having fun. Playing trumpet's a lot of fun. Playing music was a lot of fun. I was fortunate and got to even get to that step of playing professionally for a while, and not everybody gets there, and that was fun. Yeah.
Was there a moment while you were in that position that you said, I think I better go teach?
I don't know if there was a moment, but there's certainly, I could tell you that I've always enjoyed playing jazz more than I have classical music,
Okay.
but I was better at playing classical music.
Oh.
So playing jazz, you need a sharp as can be ear, and there's a lot of very special skills you need as a jazz musician that I was okay at, but not great at, And so it was a lot of fun for me. I love interacting and that element of playing jazz. So I love big band music, I love combos, but I was not the best player in the bunch. But the orchestral stuff, it's really about quality of sound. I did pretty well in that. And but it's a very technical career. You have to have the mindset for that. I love being creative and coming up with solutions and doing things. Being an orchestral musician is playing your part right. And all the credit to those who do it. That wasn't me. And so it's a first and foremost thing. And playing Beethoven symphonies and falling asleep halfway through, as a trumpet player, hey, I love some of the other parts of classical playing. I love, small ensemble playing and stuff like that. It was more fun for me. But yeah, I kind of knew that I was having a lot more fun with my teaching. Yeah.
I see. Well, devil's advocate. Now, you could have gone down the path of conductor or band leader.
Mm-hmm. Right.
More creative, more power, more.
That's right.
Freedom.
Sure. Exactly. And well, here's an interesting thing. So when I was teaching in the New York area, I taught in New Jersey and New York. Your job title was as a music teacher. I moved to Georgia, and your job title is a band director, right?
Uh-huh.
And there's a lot. It says a lot. It's true that your job in Georgia was to direct the band and yada yada, and that wasn't as much fun to me or as meaningful as teaching music. Mm-hmm. And so yeah.
Although in Georgia, I can tell you this, having been a choir director for 12 years in Georgia, they can put you anywhere. You can be a band director and you can be put in any music teaching position at all. They don't care. So
Yeah,
you could have very well ended up,
I could have. Who knows? And frankly, we got some great band programs in Georgia.
Yes.
Terrific, just
Yes.
terrific. But they're very big, and I like more of a personal interaction. And so, when my last gig in New York, I was teaching in Chappaqua, and I was like, some of it was band, some of it was small group lessons, some of it was music appreciation or music, whatever, all kinds of arrangements of things. And I taught a guitar class. So this, to me, I love the variety. It's a lot of fun. So that was more for me.
So was this movement, it's a very scary thing to leave, the structure and the pay structure of a professional teaching job and then go into, your own thing. Was that a gradual thing or did you just break with it and dive in? How did you make that transition?
I'm fortunate in that my wife's a college professor with a steady gig, and that's huge. So understood. I did not face the financial pressures of an independent person, so I had that backdrop. And and I started when we moved to Georgia, I got a teaching job, and I wasn't it was the first time I wasn't happy teaching. And it had to do with kind of the way things are done and the big kind of giant band program thing, which really wasn't in my personality.
Yeah.
And again, man, the guys who do it, I think they're awesome. It's not me. And so I started teaching an early childhood program just so I could feel some value as a teacher and feel like I was doing something a little more meaningful than I was doing at the building, the school. And it just took off. And then I grew it, and then I decided that, there's a lot I don't like about that program, and I could do this myself, and change and make it into what I think would be a better thing, and using these core principles that
The Gordon principles that you're talking about?
Well, Gordon is one of them. Gordon is what are the main things, right? Gordon taught, and just most of these things. Early childhood, key time, first few years of life are so critical in music development. Immersion, which Gordon was very much into as well, which is that, kids learn music like they learn language, right? They need to just hear it all around them. It has to be part of their life, coming from all the significant players in their lives. That's how we learn language, right? Music is learned just like language. And so we need to have that happening. Gordon believed that, but I think the one mistake Gordon makes, and there is a Gordon kind of early childhood program. The one reason I don't like it is that he was such a purist that I think he missed something important, which is that to make that immersion happen, the grown-ups need to love the music.
Well, what kind of music is Gordon using?
All chants and la la la, very very. I mean, he does some. I don't want to say simple because he uses sophisticated melodies and stuff, but without words that bring in a lot of our enjoyment, bring us in. Not that we should always use words. In fact, I'm a big believer in minimizing the words as you can, but words are also very attractive. And not a lot of backgrounds of recorded music. Recorded music is important. So one of my big philosophies is that the music has to be like the parents have to want to play it. They can't go, oh, I have to play the kid's song because the teacher tells me to do that, and I'm just sick and tired of those sounds, which is 90% of other children's music out there, I think. And so one of the things that we're really big into is making sure our recordings are really fun. And we get parents all the time telling me, I was driving and I have listened to the music, and then it dawned on me, oh, my kid's not even in the back seat, and I'm having so that's really important. So that immersion thing is super important, that the grown-ups have to want to do it so that it really happens. And the other big pillar is the music vocabulary, and Gordon's very much in this too, which is that in the same way children learn language, back to the language analogy, children learn language. Children who grow up in a household where there's a large spoken vocabulary learn to speak with a large vocabulary. Very simple concept. We all understand that. It's true. Music is the same thing. And so we don't want to expose kids to simple musical vocabulary all the time. Music entertainers might have a lot of songs that are in, major and duple, we're jumping and we're running and da-da-da. But music educators need to be presenting the children with lots of different music variety, from all the different things they might be exposed to, from different meters and scales and all that stuff, to different styles of music, to different instruments, to different sounds. Every little thing we expose them to becomes part of their music vocabulary. And so that's a big part of what we do too. And that's definitely something I learned from Edwin Gordon, and that really bringing that to life. So you go to a music class, and musicians, one of the reasons when a musician checks out our music, they say, "Oh, cool, you're doing a song in 7/8. That's like, I've never heard of that in a 2-year-old program, you know." So yeah, we got all of that in different tonalities and stuff as well. So that's
So explain. I think I understand what you're saying, but
mhm.
let's say you've got some parents and like, "Oh, I don't even know what 7/8 is." What
Sure.
would be the argument against 7/8 in maybe some traditional music education idea?
Against it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's an argument against, but I think we're creatures of habit, and so people as music teachers will do songs that seem cute and fun and just we have good experiences with.
Hmm.
Makes sense. But we can have good experiences with sophisticated music too, right? We can have one of our favorite songs could be in minor, you know, and we could do songs in mixed meters. I tell this story often, but it's meaningful to me about how when my daughter was 5 years old, one night at the dinner table, she started singing, "You have some broccoli left, and I have some broccoli left, and you have some chicken left, and I have." And I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. She's making up a chant in 7
Yeah.
without thinking about it. Only because, not that she's brilliant, even though she might be, but because we've been listening to music in 7. And so it becomes an intrinsic part of what they do. As opposed to me when I was in college, and I remember very well studying with Alan Dean, one of my trumpet teachers, who was the one who taught me yada da dee da dee da, you know, how to count mixed meter stuff. And that happens. And I was like, ooh, this is hard. But a 5-year-old can get it if we expose it to them when they're young. So yeah.
This reminds me of a similar argument with children's literature. And the fight is always this: do we give children rich experiences in literature that may be confusing to them and, help them work through it? Or do we protect our children with the literature that we give until they're old enough? And, I mean, some of that for me seems like it comes down to a question of control. Do you see that?
Well, I see, I think you do both, right?
Yeah.
So, and then also, I tell you what we do is we don't expect a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old to do these complex things in class. But we know that by hearing them repeatedly, that then when they are ready, they'll understand it and get it so much faster. So it's like we do classical music. We've got a whole bunch of different classical excerpts that we've turned into fun songs for kids. So when they go hear Beethoven or Bach or Tchaikovsky or whatever it is, someplace in the back of their mind, they've heard that sound before. It's not weirdness. And all of a sudden, it makes it easy to enjoy and understand.
And you're also taking into account the social, emotional aspect of music making, the community making music together. And be honest now, you are stealth educating parents, aren't you?
Absolutely. And I've been criticized for not acknowledging all the parent ed that is going on, as well as various sort of child development that's not just music related. And my feeling has always been teach music and everything else happens naturally. But yes, we are teaching parenting classes. We have parents who don't know how to sit on the floor and engage with their kids in a meaningful way, a way that's fun, really meaningful for their kid. And they learn that in our class. And they're not taught it. We just do it, we model it, we have fun with it, and they take home this experience where they bond with the kids in ways that they may not have done otherwise. Not every parent, but it's super satisfying when you see that happen to a parent, you know? And that's just, how wonderful is that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that was essentially the questions I'm sort of getting at. This answers the question of what you saw in what was already out there. Because in your bio, you mentioned that you saw music classes that were out there and you thought you could do it better. And
Mm-hmm.
this seems to be getting at the thing that you felt like you could do better.
The thing I felt like I could do better was make the class, in my mind, more real, more engaging at a child's level, and yet also to the parents' level for that matter. Some other programs, it's very polite. Kids are polite. Kids are running and playing. They want to do stuff, you know. And the parents, they sing like this and they do this stuff. Like, no, let's have a party, which is what we do. You know,
Yeah.
classes are a freaking hoot. People love them. And that's great, you know. Yeah.
This also gets to it's a nice segue into your business model. You're an entrepreneur. You're thinking about the bottom line as well as the thing you love. You want to
Mhm.
make sure your business can survive, and this is fun. Parents like this, so that's good for business, right?
Absolutely. So, yeah, we're looking out for the parent. It's got to be class is a blast. And frankly, some of our parents that come because they think it's meaningful in the education, thank you so much. Some of our parents come because their neighbors go and it's a good time. That's great because they're learning as well. And we've seen that over years. You know, how about these parents? You know, tell us years later, oh my God, the results from these what their kids are doing now. But yeah, so it's got to be fun for everybody involved. The parents love it. The teachers will never have as much fun doing any kind of teaching as they do teaching our class. And teachers tell us that all the time. It is so much fun. I remember once I was playing a brass quintet at the time, and I remember the horn player, who also was, by the way, an MD. He was a doctor, and he saw the class. He said, "So let me get this right. You left school teaching so you can crawl around on the floor and play with kids all day." It's so much fun. Yeah, it's a great deal of fun. It's a great deal of fun working with the grown-ups, working with the kids. It's a blast. Teachers have a great time. And unlike formal education in a school setting, there's a grown-up in the room with there's no discipline. You know, any classroom teacher has to deal with classroom discipline at whatever wherever they're at. And are interestingly enough, because we don't expect anything of the kids in class, it's a very experiential thing. The only discipline we ever deal with really is parents. You know, come on, parents, stop chatting about where you're going to go shopping afterwards. Or if the kid is a runner and running around and not focused at the moment, that's the parent's job. Hey, mom, can you go? You know, make sure he's safe. That's a pleasure as a teacher. Anybody who's taught will let you know that. You know, of course, that's a big part of what you need to do with classroom management. And for us, it's a breeze. Everybody's having a good time, and then there's no wrong answers. The kids can do what they want, and it's good. Yeah.
Well, okay, so you're in charge of a lot of these teachers. You've got people working for you. What is similar about being a manager or a leader of people to teaching?
I think respect. I think the key to teaching is being respectful to your student, be they a 1 year old, 2 year old, a 17-year old, being respectful and meeting them at their age and wherever they're at. Same thing with teachers. You need to respect them. And so I try to respect my teachers by paying them well. That's important. I try to respect them by listening to them and making them as much a part of the experience of building this program as we can. Particularly in the early days, they were recording on all of our CDs. That was a big part of, you know, and that nice outlet for them. These days, we actually are in the process of updating and changing some songs and whatnot, getting teacher buy-in and all of that's a nice creative outlet. But I think respect is super important.
Wow. Well, it's really great to talk to you and learn about the music class. How can people find you?
Themusicclass.com. Thank you so much. Themusicclass.com and all kinds of people. I'll just put in a quick plug. So the program is a pleasure to teach. It's meaningful for everybody. So, but who can teach the program? Musicians can teach the program. Theater people have often been great because they have some. But parents, we've had some great teachers who are not trained musicians but are good, have good musical skills. That's essential. Good musical skills, but you know, have the desire and the social skills. And so we have parents without the formal training. They do great as long as they've got the good skills. They can meet up with us. We're in preschools, childcare centers, and such where they want to bring, you know, the best music that they can to their children in their community. We've got programs for that too. So themusicclass.com.
Excellent. Rob Sayer, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure, and thanks for asking.
My pleasure. And folks, if you have more questions for Mr. Sayer and you can't find him, you can always check us out at TruerMU and you can contact me, Adam at willowschoolga.com, and I will direct you to him. Thanks, folks, very much for joining us today. And we will see you in another interview. If you like what you're seeing, please like our videos. Please feel free to contact me for any reason. And we'll see you next time.